There is a voice in your head. You are almost certainly aware of it right now. It is the voice that comments on what you are reading, evaluates whether it agrees, anticipates what comes next, and simultaneously maintains a running thread about something else entirely that has nothing to do with this. It is the voice that replays conversations from 3 days ago and adjusts what you should have said. It rehearses arguments with people who are not in the room. It constructs elaborate simulations of future events that have not happened and may never happen, and then generates emotional responses to those simulations as if they were real. Most people, when they first encounter Tolle's central question, find it either immediately obvious or immediately unsettling. The question is this: if there is a voice in your head, who is listening to it? Because if you can observe the voice, if you can notice it, step back from it even briefly, watch it move from one thought to the next, then you are not the voice. You are the one observing it. And if that is true, then the entity you have spent your entire life assuming was you, the relentless internal narrator that evaluates every experience, judges every outcome, worries about every possible future, and replays every significant past, is not you at all. It is something that is happening to you, something you have been mistaking for yourself for as long as you can remember. This is the opening provocation of the power of now. And for a professional audience trained to value analytical thinking and strategic planning, it requires a moment to sit with honestly, because the implication is not comfortable. If the voice is not you, then the entity that has been making a significant proportion of your most important decisions about how to respond to difficult people, about what to worry about tonight, about whether your performance is adequate, about what others think of you, has been operating largely without your awareness or consent. Not because you are careless, because nobody told you there was a distinction to be made. Tolle describes this as identification with the mind. Most people do not use their mind, they are their mind. Every thought that arises feels like evidence of who they are. Every anxious projection feels like a legitimate reading of reality, rather than a story the mind is generating and then reacting to, as if it were true. Every replay of a past grievance feels like necessary processing, rather than the mind running a loop that produces suffering without producing anything useful. The distinction Tolle draws is between the mind as a tool, something you can pick up, use deliberately, and put down, and the mind as the default mode of existence that runs continuously, generates most of its content automatically, and mistakes its own activity for reality. The mind as a tool is extraordinary. The capacity for focused analytical thinking, for creative problem solving, for the kind of deep cognitive work we have discussed in previous series, is one of the most remarkable capacities available to any professional. The mind as default mode is something different. It is a process that never stops, generates far more content than any person could deliberately choose to think, and produces a significant proportion of the suffering, anxiety, and relational damage that most people attribute to their circumstances, rather than to the process generating their experience of those circumstances. Here's why this matters for a professional specifically. The mind that cannot be still is not just a source of personal suffering, it is a professional liability. It impairs the quality of attention you bring to the people and problems that actually require it. It generates anxiety about outcomes that have not happened, consuming cognitive resources that would otherwise be available for the present task. It replays past failures in ways that distort current judgment, and it makes genuine rest impossible, because a mind that cannot stop narrating cannot actually recover between periods of high demand. The action before episode 2 is the simplest in this entire series. At some point today, sit quietly for 5 minutes, not to meditate, not to relax, simply to watch the voice. Notice what it says. Notice how quickly it moves from one thing to the next. Notice whether you chose any of those thoughts, or whether they simply arrived. Do not try to stop them. Just observe them as if you were watching a river rather than being carried by it. That distinction between being the observer and being the observed is the entire foundation of what this series will cover. Episode 2 examines what happens when that voice is left running unobserved, and why the default mode of most professional minds is generating far more of their difficulty than their circumstances are. Subscribe so you do not miss it.